Hello, welcome to Smileys. This is the discussion episode of chapters 5 and 6 of Forge of Darkness. We are doing spoilers all. You should know this by now. This is not your first video. I am joined by Mora. Hello, Mora.
Hi, Lee. How are you? I know you're
good.
tired because...
We're working on it. It's fine. We're, 9 to 5, working shift, no matter. So, this was one of the longer chapters, 5, and it took us about 45 minutes to summarize, so you would think it would give us a lot of talking points, but we actually tackled quite a few of those in the actual discussion episode, summary episode rather. So, do you have anything important to bring up from chapter 5, beyond the symbolism which we brought up?
I don't know if it is important, but the one thing which I had a doubt was why all these Taist legends have something to do about darkness. It's as if they're all aligned. I think you had a good explanation, so go on.
I didn't have a particularly great... No, see, I don't know. I think
Great.
My explanation was that Draconis has been there associated as Ahanai since the first Taist. And Draconis is the suzerain of Dark. And so the indirect influence of Draconis has been rubbing off on Taist legends about darkness, right? Because when your god that's associated with you is the god of dark, you tend to, get pretty good ideas about darkness. So, and also because presumably there wasn't a corresponding god of light. Okay, maybe there definitely was. There's also the notion of cyclical history, which brought up a lot of All of Light, that all of this has happened before. The birth of light, and then the birth of shadow, and then over and over again. It's the fourth time or whatever. There's not a number. Fourth, I guess.
Yeah.
My guess is it's Draconis is doing, but I don't know.
I thought you were trying to say something else, right now because Mother Dark is ruling them. And so
that is the other thing, That is the other thing. That because Mother Dark is currently ruling them, but not for long, they would rewrite their legends to give her legitimacy, because the Taist royal line was destroyed in battle, and suddenly no one else could take the throne, and then this chick came along, got sanctified by Draconis, which apparently no one knows. And now she's a goddess, and she was a goddess all along, guys, I promise. And that's, I guess, how the Taist legends now include darkness everywhere.
Yeah,
that's my other guess.
Yeah, both equally valid. So that's what. So we are not saying that there was just Taist anti first, and then the others came along. It has always been just the Taist, and they just started raising darkness for some reason or the other. Okay. So that's that.
And this is brought up actually in Midnight Tides again.
Right.
Cirque says
that
to
canon.
So it's through a flashback given by Menandor to Udinas, seen through Kalminsod's eyes, of a Cirque telling the three sisters that Mother Dark's first children were not Taistandi, no matter what an Amander might say.
And
because of course Rake has to. What?
Sorry, according to him, who were the first children then?
He doesn't say. He just says, Mother Dark's first children were not Andy, and he does not elaborate, and just leaves. You could try to Cirque. So that's our two options. One is Draconis, the other is historical revisionism. Pick your poison. I don't know.
Right. No, I'm not going to pick anything now because both seem fine. You said pick your poison, so.
Yeah. The other thing you wanted to bring up about the Age of Gifts, I think it was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Please do. Yeah. So the Age of Gifts, which the Taist have been thinking about, the time of the first Taist, there was peace and harmony everywhere. I don't know, the Garden of Eden or something, and suddenly there was discord because their soul has chaos, and instead of guarding against chaos, they gave into it, and so they lost darkness and light came in, and there were stars in the sky and all that. So I think this is what is Elent blood, which I think we sort of know. I don't have like exact proof of anything, but I think I've been told many times all over the Reddit that the Teist already carry Elaine blood. It's
So
not something that happens.
yeah,
It's not
yeah.
like an event of TM getting torn up and drunk, and it's a metaphor. It's not something literal. Even though we see like Endest's flashback where he sees as if that scene implies that Rake has just like drunk dragon blood and he's walking around with dragon scales on his body, and it's a cool scene, but utter lies. Nothing like that ever happens. Like the Ties just have Elaine blood in them, and it's up to them to whether to give into this chaos or to not give into it. Someone like Anderist can just reject it, whereas
Mhm.
the others just keep using it.
Can't fucking
Right?
find it. Anyway, yeah, but that's brought up in somewhere in Fall
Finding
of
a
Light.
quote.
I do
Yeah.
not remember where it is. It's in late Fall
Tell
of
me a
Light.
keyword. I have the.
I don't know. It's Krull speaking to our daughter. It doesn't help.
Okay. No, it doesn't help. Go on.
Excellent. So yeah, Krull says basically to our daughter that the Teist carry Elaine's blood in their veins since forever.
Oh.
And we also see that Curdle and Tellerast are soul-taken Elaine, which their shape-shifting forms are Teist, because they drank Teist blood. Or something
Wait,
like
what?
that.
Really?
I don't remember either.
Okay. This we'll find out in like 6 months or so.
So, yeah, something like that. But it's
Sorry, who was it?
complicated,
Adata and?
cruel.
Okay. Yeah. Go on.
Cruel. Yeah. And Skillen,
You
and
kept
Skara,
saying
and Osirk.
Krill instead of Krill. It is so funny.
Cruel. No, that's how the audiobook in Fall of Light pronounces it. It's
Oh,
Cruel.
really? Yeah. Oh, I should
it's
listen to
because Skillen has a very Scottish accent, so it sounds like cruel, and I adopted it since, even when like I'm speaking normally.
I think somebody had it. I think Forge of Darkness makes all the Azathanai have
All the Azathanai is
Scottish
Scottish.
accents.
Yes,
I
it's
I
choice.
wouldn't be able to recognize it. So, is it that bad? I don't know.
I don't know if it's bad, but it can recover somewhat on Follow Light, and it's a choice for sure. Anyway,
I found
We got
the chapter,
sidetracked.
the page
Yeah.
where Krull is telling Ardata that the gate is sealed, and she says, "You planned this deceit," and he says, "No, don't be a fool. We knew nothing about the Telekai." What exactly are we looking for here?
I don't know.
Okay, go on.
But yeah, just that. Jesus. Supposedly, the Dice have Elaine blood in them from the time of like all darkness. Jeez.
Just
Excuse me.
take a minute. Drink some water and
No.
restart.
I don't worry.
No, it's easier for editing. That's all.
Yeah. No, it's fine now.
Okay.
So yeah, it's like a lot of things we'll see throughout Forge of Darkness, and especially later in Hall of Light, a metaphor describing real historical events, which you can both view as a filter of like history being moved into myth because it's later, and also because it's Galan telling you the story, right? It's not gonna outright tell you like, oh yeah, by the way, they have dragon blood in them because they drank dragon blood and shit. No, they have like the gift of chaos within them. It sows discord and shit.
Okay.
So
yeah.
It's one of the things I've kind of forgotten about the series because like FOD is dense enough on its own that I've kind of forgotten that we view this through Galan's eyes. Like it's being narrated to us, so I need to take that in mind, and then just goes like wild.
Yeah. No, I think the way we keep discussing it, that sort of keeps reinforcing this, isn't it? Or it's just so easy to, to forget that this has a narrator. Yeah. Right.
Except when it doesn't, because you brought up that Galan has a very like he's how did you put it last
What?
time
What was that?
about Draconis? About how he
Do
writes
you
Draconis?
want me to?
Yeah.
He wrote it one-handed. Anytime Draconis comes up, Galan just wrote with one hand. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
So yeah.
See, it's not funny if
Draconis,
you make me say it.
he's a bit partial to Draconis. right? So
Yeah.
in that regard, you can quite clearly see the narrator's voice coming through.
Yeah. There is actually a nice write-up by Niflrog detailing why this already happened. You read that, right? That the Teist already carry Elaine blood.
Oh,
No?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that one. We should leave a link.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, like, peer pressure Nif into writing more parts of his essay.
Poor fellow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
There has
we're
to
done
be
with
more.
the
Go
age
on.
of. No,
Yeah,
we're done with the
yeah,
age of
yeah,
chaos.
yeah,
Let's go in an order.
Yep.
Let's go in an order. So chapter 5 is started, then Sagander got. How do you put it? Sagander? You really love saying that. Chapter 5 is all about Sagander?
Oh, fucking around finding out, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we do. And I don't know. It was quite gross to read.
No doubt.
You know what? It's like so odd because in a summary with so much detail, where I went into all this detail, I did not even stop to mention this whole thing of a severed leg just lying in a pit. It's so disgusting. It's so gross. But we passed it. It doesn't matter to us anymore, right? We've seen worse, and we're going to see much worse. So
yeah, what does it say about us? I wonder.
Yeah, we are right. Okay. So that was Sagander. And do you have any thoughts on his? I think we've discussed enough about his whole thoughts.
So yeah, we're not going to talk about his thoughts, but one thing that stays consistent with Sagander is his utter irreverence and just being an overall dipshit. He's just an unpleasant person. He's
yeah.
I've been delving a lot of into this, particularly about Henarald, but Sagander also fits that. Such characters are, in the most base sense, they're ordinary. Their motives are like copy and pasted. Like you have one Sagander and you can make 10 different characters. Give them a different makeover, a different background, a different personality. Their motivations will remain the same. Because such people are ubiquitous. They're bad, they're god-awful, but they're god-awful because they're unexceptional, they're unremarkable, they're banal. Is the word I'm looking for. I'll leave a link probably to what I'm referring to in the description. And Sagander basically remains like this for the rest of the book, and this book, and the next book, until he dies. The one scene that comes to mind right now, most pertinently, is in somewhere in the middle point of Fall of Light, when he, Centaura, Renar, and Urusander like together and are talking, and then Renar raises a point to Urusander, who's like, "Watch your mouth, whore," or something, and then Urusander goes fucking ballistic on him. Like,
yeah.
It's just he never learns, like that's what almost got him killed twice. And like, okay, what if I do it again? And
he never learns. True.
Moreover, because he's now maimed, he's crippled. Sagander, later on Forge of Darkness, actually comes into some fairly interesting ideas that are played with in the Book of the Fallen, and again, because this is Sagander, he blows them completely.
Okay.
But just keep this in mind, because now him being crippled is a big part of his character, but also he is still a cynical, dirty, unremarkable old bastard that gets increasingly creepy as the series goes on, but we'll get to that eventually. So, no, I don't like Sagander. I don't think there's a single person in the series who likes Sagander. I don't think anyone likes Sagander. I have no idea why Draconis hired Sagander. If you know, please tell me, because I don't know.
That's because I don't have any good things to say about Draconis in these things. I mean, he hands out the scales. That's the kind of guy we're dealing with. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about all these things. Draconis is not very smart, as far as I can see. Oh my god, I hope Sparty is not watching this. No, he's not. He doesn't think through things. He doesn't.
we had an entire episode like Nif about, the Giga Chad Drac and all of that, and now we're like, nah, he's just a dumbass.
Did we? No, we didn't take his position. Did you support his position? I did not agree with that. Did I? I don't think so. See,
I don't remember.
my stand has always been, why did Draconis give Mother Dark all this? Why did he give her the gate? And then why did he make this sword? And this is what Nif thought, that just because he can't, predict the consequences, you can't judge him for these things. But that's he's been doing this again and again. He doesn't think through consequences. Just like that, he called Ferren and said, "Teach this boy." Can't he? He's, my God, he's not some dumbass. He can know that this woman has had a child before, and where is this child? What happened to it? He should have some idea of what type of a person she is. No, just like that, he'll just call her and say, just lie with my son, and then we'll see what happens. And then I'll give you a forced abortion. Or does he give an abortion? I don't know what happens exactly.
I think it fails. That's the thing. I think it fails.
Okay. So she ends
But
up
I think
having
he
a
tries.
child. He would definitely try, obviously.
I think
He's
she
not-
dies at the end of Forge of Darkness, so probably not. But yeah,
She does. Okay. Do we
Rint
see her
does.
body further?
Farron doesn't. No. Rint dies for sure. Farron is probably dead.
Okay. Okay, we'll see that. We'll see about that. So the thing is, Draconis does stuff but doesn't think through them. So this is my stand. So what was your question again? You had a specific question about why Draconis did something. Why did he hire Sagander? Because he doesn't
What
think through
again?
consequences.
Okay, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, he just found this guy and just hired him. And then after like 20 years, he sees, oh, this guy has been teaching nonsense to my son. And in spite of all this nonsense, my son has turned out well. So maybe I'll give him some attention. That's,
Right.
I don't know how you can defend a guy like this. And
No,
I
look
don't
at
know
me.
why. No, the thing is, in spite of Galan trying so hard to like prop him up to make him sound like he's some, the Giga Chad or something, it still fails. It's still obvious that, no? Do you think Galan is
I don't-
mocking Draconis in all this?
I don't think he's mocking him, but I don't think he's being a fanboy like Sparty is. With all due respect.
I mean, nobody can be a fanboy like Sparty, but
That is a good point.
Yeah.
But I don't think he is uncritically fanboy. Like that's the whole point, right? That's the whole point of the series. That you should not uncritically fanboy over individuals. You should not man
is
the
that
ramparts of
your theme?
adoration. Not like
Don't uncritically
Yes.
fanboy stuff. No.
I'm putting
It's
it a
just
bit
the words
bluntly,
used.
but
Yeah.
like he brings this up in full of light, right? About Anamander, about like will I never scour this romance from your vision?
Yeah.
I don't
the
think-
ramparts. Yeah.
I don't think Galan is taking a pro Draconis stance necessarily. I think when he does like give credence to characters, it's very obvious. Like you have Rennek, you have Renar, you have the Haas Legion later. You have to some extent, sort of, Anamander on his good days.
Okay.
And then you can see very clearly that he like doesn't like certain people. Like the way he describes Henarald, for instance. Like a lot of people are drunk in this series, and rarely is being a drunk a good thing. Right?
Okay.
Like contrast that to being a whore.
Mm-hmm.
You have like the prostitutes who like whore out themselves out as a means to secure alliances, like Seveg or Risp or Seraph, not so much. Like Hunral, who basically just gives his cousins away for people for sexual favors, right? Or Farron here, who is like being manipulated or using Arathan in return, compared to Thais that are like run down, making this their profession so as to live. This gets brought up a lot more in Fall of Light. We'll get to that symbolism later. But you said yourself, like Draconis throws away the scales. Like this is not a well thought out action. And Teresa's presence is meant to remedy that, right? That he fucked up because he's thinking with the wrong head. And because of
And so
that,
Tris has to come and restore balance.
yeah.
Sorry, I just finished your thought.
I was dragging on a bit, thank you.
Right. So there's one more thing I wanted to ask you because I've forgotten most of this. What is the Hust Legion aligned to? Like, there is. You started explaining. Do you want to go through that? Because it's. Go on. That's that one. Yeah. How are we even going to display that? Right. So there is the Kurald Legion, which is now called
Urusander's
Legion. Yeah. It's headed by Urusander. And all these people are formed of like the common people, not noble born, just the common soldiers. Yes?
Sorta.
House blades and stuff. Yeah. And there are also the noble born armies. Yeah. And right now, Mother Dark is the ruler. She has taken Draconis. And Draconis is like an upstart, an outsider. Nobody likes him. I mean, basically, nobody likes him. Neither the Urusander Legion nor the noble bonds. Absolutely no one except Mother Dark herself. So what he is doing is he is building an army to face the others, to stand between Mother Dark and the rest of the realm. The rest of the realm wants Mother Dark to marry Urusander. Yeah. So in between all this, what is the Hust Legion doing? What are they?
So, the Hust Legion are under the command of Taurus Redan, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's this chapter, like chapter 6 or chapter 4, as mentioned, that at some point in time, no, it's like earlier. Yeah, when Galar and Kellaras first come. So, the Hust Legion in general has aligned themselves with Mother Dark. They're all children of night, just like Anamander and House Purake is. The House Blades of House Purake similarly are all Andy, not in the color complexion sense, but in the loyalty sense. Right. They're all children of night. Okay. The Wardens, which are commanded by Callan Hastane, are meant to be neutral, as are the
Border Swords? They're the other neutral ones.
And the Sheikh. So
Sheikh, yeah.
The Sheikh, the Border Swords, and the Wardens are meant to be neutral because they have their own thing. The Border Swords are guarding the borders. The Wardens are guarding against Glimmer Fate. Somehow, no one knows how.
Yeah.
And the Sheikh are their own religious sect that is separate from the Dark. Urusander's Legion is doing its own thing, chiefly loyal to Urusander. It is not only manned by lowborns, like you have people like
that one, yeah, Ilga's friend.
I'm trying to figure out who is not nobleborn among them. Like you have Henarald, who's of the Iskin line. You have Kagaman Tulas, who was
poor nobleborn. They're all poor nobleborn. They're not like rich nobleborn.
Sorta, kinda.
Yeah, that's why they have to join the army. Otherwise, they would be leading them rather than fighting them.
I suppose that's true. And then you have, the house blades, which are all of each different house. No shit. That's in the name. And then that's pretty much it.
So the Hust are with Mother Dark, always. But now...
Always is a bit of a stretch, but yes.
So far.
Yes.
Okay, so my question is, why does Henarald Hust think it's a political statement to make a sword for the Son of Darkness? They're all allies. Why would it matter if he made a special sword for him? No? Why it was... Is it still... I thought maybe they're just neutral or whatever. Is there a reason?
So picture this. You're in the middle of a nation that has just emerged from a long war. Because Mother Dark and Anamander has aligned themselves so strongly with your legion. You have been alienated from like the largest military force in the realm, and now this guy, who essentially alienated your entire army from the other half of the world army, is like, I want a sword because someone might turn on my foster dad, and I don't want that to happen.
Okay.
So, or
like, as we were just talking, I thought it could also be that Rake is not Mother Dark. So making a sword for Rake. I mean, no, just listen to me.
Sorry.
Right. They're aligned. They're allied with Mother Dark. So making a sword for her is not the same thing as making one for her son.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's the distinction we should keep in mind.
The very obvious thing is, in making a sword for Rake, he indirectly declares in favor of Draconis, which is not a great way to maintain neutrality.
He is in favor of Draconis by making a sword to Anomander, is it?
That's how it looks.
How does it look that way? Nobody, as I said, Draconis has no support. Does Anomander support Draconis?
Yeah.
He does?
Well, so here's where we get a bit complicated, because everyone and their mother claims to be fighting for Mother Dark. Everyone.
Yeah, sure.
Henarald, Urusander's Legion, the Husk Legion, the Border Swords, everyone except the Shake and the Deniers, basically, are fighting for Mother Dark. House Purake is directly integrated into Mother Dark domain. So the Lord, or rather, the Lady of House Purake right now is Mother Dark. And, everyone in House Purake is technically loyal to the sons of Anomander, so Anomander because he's the Lord of the House, but Anomander is technically like a vassal of Mother Dark directly. So Anomander is going to do Mother Dark's bidding first and foremost. And provided she can avoid it, Mother Dark is going to declare in favor of Draconis if that means that there will be no civil war. And it becomes a big deal later on of is Mother Dark going to support her consort, or is she going I think it's mentioned when Galar speaks in chapter 3 that if it comes to that, then Mother Dark will abandon Draconis for the good of the realm because her children bled
how could she
for her and her name, and how could who could do otherwise, So Anomander is directly loyal, shall we say, directly under Mother Dark's command, and if Mother Dark tells him, I want you to defend Draconis' honor, then he will. And so in building a sword, he is indirectly declaring that I am supporting Draconis' action of building up his army, and I am going to declare in support of him in spite of my fellow nobleborn, which nobody likes. And Henarald doesn't want to be in the middle of a civil war because he has business to do and he has other things to do because most of his direct relatives are in command of neutral military organization, like the Wardens, for instance. And yes, his legion is technically aligned with Mother Dark, but it's for the defense of the realm, not for swinging your dick at the other nobleborns.
Yeah. Right. No, but the way I was thinking, I don't know, it doesn't really extend to Draconis is what I thought. It just extends up to Rake. He's publicly saying that no matter what, because I don't know, that the way I remember it, it's not like Rake is at some point he starts chafing, isn't it? He can't stand the way Mother Dark is not taking a stand. So, So I don't know. There is maybe Henarald thinks of all these things, so he doesn't want to declare for Rake before anything can happen. Who knows? Right? Yeah. Anything else?
Do you have anything else to say before I get into the deep and not particularly nuanced discussion of Urusander Kadaspala?
Oh, okay. We can go there. I don't have anything else now.
No, really? Okay.
No, it's. Do you want to hear me talk about Ferran and Arathan again? It's. I don't have pleasant
I
things to
mean,
tell about them.
sure, go for it.
No, no. It's like quite odd and somewhat sad. Ferran has lost a son. He's lost a mother, and they have all these conflicted thoughts, and it's quite creepy, and it makes sense, and I don't like it. So because he has the same things, isn't it? He thinks that he's going to find his mother and steal her away and all that. And Rin sort of thinks the same thing about Ferran, that he will steal her away if she gets pregnant and keep her hidden or something. So it's a big mess. That's all. Let's talk Kadaspala and
Right.
Urusander.
So, if you've read Full of Light, spoilers incoming, you
If
know
you
that.
read it and you remember it. Yeah.
Okay, that's
Because I've
important.
read
Okay.
it. I don't
So-
remember anything.
So, Kadaspala's painting becomes very important to Urusander throughout the books. From this
Wow.
book to Fall of Light, especially. I wrote a post about it recently. Check that out. I'll leave it in the description.
Okay.
I'm shilling myself so hard right now. Holy shit, I feel bad.
I mean, even I'm not reading it, so I don't. I'm so sorry. I don't remember. Yeah.
So, Kadaspala's painting plays a big role in Urusander's character because, as we discussed in the summary episode, it depicts an idealized form of Urusander, a man who can prevent civil war, a man who is worthy of being Mother Dark's husband, a man who will, defend the realm and everything. And I've read ahead a little bit, and Kadaspala's thoughts later become all the more apparent because the way he paints and the way he treats the world, he has made a god of like colors and all these scenes, and he later happens upon like a massacre scene. Like, I'm gonna paint this 100,000 times for every nobleborn to see, because when Kadaspala is painting for himself, he paints very different scenes and very different political statements than he would otherwise. This is a very blunt, very forced political statement from Vatha, which he doesn't necessarily want. I go into a bit of detail about this in the summary, but to conclude here, Kadaspala offhandedly mentions that his portrait can follow him wherever he likes, and then Urusander basically says something along the lines of, "Do I look like I'm not enjoying this place?" No, my lord, I'm just saying, but you would have me elsewhere.
Yeah.
Someone else. Somewhere else.
Somewhere else, yeah.
And the interplay between who is Vatha Urusander really and who is he meant to be, like, who do we want Vatha Urusander to be? We want the guy to dispense justice, right? That's what he says he'll do. The Leoson would have him as Father Light. Galan is somewhere in the middle. He doesn't exactly know what he wants either. He talks about him in Fall of Light more directly. Like, he has a quote about talking directly about Urusander, about how, like, he is no different than us. Okay, maybe not us poets. I'm special. You guys aren't. You guys are plebs. You guys are like Urusander. I'm different. I'm not kidding. I'm only slightly paraphrasing. But it is this scene, this chapter, which really puts all of this in motion. When Kadaspala says, if anyone can prevent civil war, it's that man, and Urusander just loses his marbles. Like, no, fuck this. This is all bullshit. This is madness. If the nobleborn so chafe, they should take it up with Mother Dark, like he did. But then the question becomes of, if he knows all of this, if he knows that the nobleborn are going to turn on Draconis, and Henarald is looking for excuses to start a new war so that Legion may be resurrected, and he wants something better for his son, or God forbid the adopted daughter he turns into a whore later, why is he being a better dad?
What?
And I don't have a good answer to that. I don't know why Urusander is such a shit dad.
I mean, is he smart or wise in any other ways, Urusander? He fought well.
Define wise.
Wise as in, I don't want to say not Draconis, but has he done something which is admirable so far? Staying neutral? Would that?
That's the thing, right? He hasn't done much. And that's the thing with Urusander, he doesn't do.
Isn't this
Like, he
exactly like
says
Mother Dark, if you think
a
about it?
lot of things. Yes.
We just don't get to see.
Congratulations, you just found the parallel between Mother Dark and Father Light.
No, but it's just that we don't get to see her point of view, like people around her. But Urusander is so sad because he's like kept on the page from page 1. He's like right in the center of attention. Everyone notices that he's not doing anything, and it's like very few people like Rake and the others who notice that Mother Dark is not doing anything. So, this is so weird. This is all so parallel to each other. But
perhaps unsurprisingly, this is gonna get brought up a lot in the next few chapters.
Okay.
And in the next book. But
yeah,
that's just like you mentioned this, and that's exactly the thing. Urusander doesn't do. He is extremely cognizant that he's been bullshitted. Like, he straight up goes ballistic on Osiric and Serap later, a few chapters later, about how he knows that Henarald is spouting bullshit. How he knows that like the Legion wants different things from what he wants. He knows that justice is something that's going to be corrupted eventually, because he may set forth his laws, but they're just going to get like
as it is
destroyed.
Yeah. Don't we see very
But
similar
he doesn't
things?
do anything. And I've had this discussion with quite a few individuals. One of them being Scarifus. I don't know if you listened to this, Val, but yeah.
Who? Sorry?
Scarifus. It's on the sub. I'll send a link, maybe. A guy who is much more versed in Carcanas than I am, much more versed in like such matters than I am, and we essentially concluded that both Mother Dark and Urusander want something better. And they want to bring about that better in a more indirect way, by respecting the agency of those under them and letting them choose. And the difference between what someone like Rake chooses and what someone like Osiric chooses is that Rake isn't a snotty dipshit. Because later we see Osiric, having rounds in like the tavern and like visiting girls and courting like a 13-year-old or however old Renar is and all of that. And then Rake, on the one hand, is a warrior, yes, and he asks Mother Dark for an enemy, and he chafes, as you mentioned. But when the time comes to do what he needs to do, when Grip approaches him and says, "My lord, I want to resign from your command because I have found my love with his fucking ex." Like, he brings up his ex, and like, yeah, I know I served you for like 20 years, but I want to bang your ex.
No. Who is not a Rake ex in entire Kellaras Galar?
Okay, that's a good point.
Yeah. There is nobody can marry anyone if they're thinking it's Rake's ex.
And I think like Steve brought this up to us, right? That Galan sometimes has to begrudgingly admit that like Rake did the right thing.
Yeah.
At basically no point in Carcanas does Osiric do something which you're going to consider to be the right thing. Except maybe very late in Full of Light, which I just don't remember because he's like disappears from the story from like middle of Forge of Darkness, like the end of Full of Light's gone. But at no point do we see Osiric do the right thing, and even when like you see Renar, right, who is fascinating, but her chosen profession is prostitution, and it's weird. And again, this will be brought up a fuck ton when we get there, but it's not clear if Renar has a choice. What is clear is that Urusander could have put a stop to this had he wanted to, and I have no clue why he didn't.
As you said, he wanted her to choose. He was respecting her agency. No?
The thing is, can she choose? We'll get to this when the actual scene happens with Gurren and whatnot, but it's not clear. Renar isn't given a choice in the option at all. Like, she's just like, she gets her shit beaten out of her, she goes unconscious, and then Urusander comes along to make the arrangement. Now she's suddenly in the company of the Lord, you know? But it's not clear if Renar actually had a choice in such matters, and of her chosen company.
Yeah.
And if she did, why she didn't choose something better. And we can say with a fair amount of confidence that Renar probably had like the best choice among the Leosin. Everyone else chose the worst option. And I bring this up now because there is a very interesting conversation to be had about whose responsibility is it really? And the same comes from Mother Dark. You know, when Andy, when she forsook, is that the word?
Forsook. Forsaken,
Yes,
forsook. Yeah.
When the Andy were
It doesn't
forsaken
sound good.
by Mother Dark.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't sound right.
She
Anyway,
abandoned them. Yeah.
when she abandoned the Andy, anyway, would she still be responsible for whatever actions had taken her name?
Yeah. Yeah, because those actions happened because she abandoned them. No?
Mm-hmm. I don't. I'm asking you.
No, this would be my answer, yeah. But just because you walk away, you don't stop being responsible for your inaction, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me. Oh,
Okay,
sorry,
so
you wanted a
isn't-
discussion? I already have an answer.
No. Yeah, I mean, I have more questions of this. Like, is inaction then to be like condemned? Do we condemn inaction?
I think
Because this is a
Yeah.
frequent frustration among Carcanos readers. Like, why is Mother Dark doing nothing? Why is Urusander doing nothing?
yeah.
Well, here you go. Because to him, this all reeks of bullshit, and no matter what he does, it's going to go worse, right? And so, but is his absolution of responsibility, abnegation, it's absolution of responsibility worth it? Like, is it good? Do we believe him? Is he actually not responsible for whatever Henarald does as his name? You just said no, and I'm kind of inclined to agree. But
No, I'm
I
just
think in the
thinking that.
summary, yeah, sorry.
No, I'm just thinking that it's the sort of same discussions we see about gods and worshippers. To what
Mhm.
extent is the god responsible for what the worshippers are doing? And it's exactly the same, isn't it? So can right? So can a god treat its worshippers as adults, as grown-ups, and say, you guys choose the right path, do whatever you want? Then what is the need for this god? Who's going to worship it? But if the god is going to get worshipped and get all the whatever, all the things that people do, all the worship they give, all the prayers they do, all the power they're giving to this god just by praying to them, then are they not, like, isn't it their responsibility to take care of them in return, not treat them like adult grown-ups and then just treat them like children and take care of everything? Isn't that what the expectation would be? Isn't that how that relationship would be defined? Oh, this is
This, rather unsurprisingly, is brought up in All the Hounds considerably,
by the Redeemer storyline. Yeah.
and it gets brought up a lot in Full of Light. You mentioned the children bit, and one of the quotes from Mother Dark in Full of Light says that when I named you children, I was not being complimentary. And then she just drops the mic and walks away. So exactly what you just said is tackled in the book.
I'm just
It
probably
is a
remembering
discussion
bits of that.
I
Yeah.
want to have. Because you're right that the expectation is that they will be reciprocated, right? That's one of the concerns that Emerald, which is the other partner in dialogue here, has. That if they do good, if they are being adults, responsible adults, and they're doing good things, there is no guarantee that there will be reward at the end. Which reminds me of Arathon's quote about love needing a reason, right? Do you need a reason to be good to someone? To love someone unconditionally? And then we would be inclined to say no, but then you bring that back to Mother Dark not doing anything because she expects from her followers to be adults and act reasonably and responsibly.
Is that
But then, yeah,
is it an expectation from her side? She's just ignoring the expectations that the worshippers have towards her. She's not expecting anything. She's just ignoring them. Would you call it an expectation still?
would you say it's ignoring them?
It does, but it's not her fault.
Isn't it?
Like it's these people have built up this expectation from her. Like they have
Yes.
made it again. It's going back to Told the Hounds thing. It's become transactional, right? They say that we are propping you up as a goddess, so do your thing. Come here and take care of us. So once it becomes transactional, unless both sides agree to it, it's not a transaction, isn't it? It's going to fail. Mother Dark. Exactly. Is this a whole thing dealing with the gods' consent to get worshipped? Is this what's happening here?
Sort of.
Yeah.
Which then ties back to Urusander, right? Because the guy never consented to any
Yeah.
of this.
Exactly. Yeah. None of them. None of the gods have consented it to all these people worshipping them. So why should they be held responsible for whatever these guys are doing? They didn't ask for it. Did they? No, nobody asked for it. So this has been a strange conversation.
I don't have I think it. There's a certain merit to ask these questions, even when we don't have the answers, because I full well believe that Steve is not going to use the answers.
No, this is just
These questions are raised throughout Arcanas, and there is no answer to them. He's not going to tell you. Like chapter 7, which is the next chapter, raises a lot of questions on meaning and purpose, and he's not going to tell you what the meaning of life is. Just as well, he's not going to tell you, what the point of worship is and how to worship a god and what faith should look like to you. You want to live in the fear of God? Go ahead. I mean,
no, it's just quite odd. Yeah.
to
Then
close, because
okay, we're closing.
no, sorry. You wanted to say something, yeah?
No, we did not go to Harald, Narad, the whole thing.
Oh yeah.
No?
So yeah, to close this particular thread,
With more,
I remember
more
say
yikes.
because it's Easter now. Yeah, more yikes, but we'll get to that. Because it's Easter here. I remember a quote from one of the Greek poets who was also a particularly pious person, which talks about his relationship with God, and if I remember the quote adequately and translated properly, it goes something like, "I fear nothing, I expect nothing, I'm free."
Okay.
And it talks. It's a reference basically to, I want to say, the Orthodox doctrine of how to deal with God and your relationship with God is the first layer, I guess, is fear. You live in fear of God, and you do what the God says is prescribed for you because you fear retribution. The next part is, as you said, transactional. You do good things because you expect a reward, because you want there to be some reward. The ultimate level, the freedom part, is love. You do it out of love for the god. Well, in this case, it's one guy, but let's
Yeah.
pretend it's multiple gods here.
It's a sentiment.
because-
Yeah.
Because you're a good individual and because you genuinely appreciate the deity. It's not fear. There's no prescription or law driving you to do it. It's not transactional. You're not expecting like some reward either in this life or the next or the afterlife or whatever. You're doing it because it's the right thing to do. And I bring this up because this is brought up by Mother Dark later, and it is, I think, one of the more interesting lenses to view Garcanas through in this regard. But I'll save that because we're still on chapter 6 of Forge of Darkness, and we have like 40 chapters to get through, and I probably need to like conserve some actual talking points for then.
That's okay. When we run out of things, we'll just do some Book of the Fallen stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll run out of stuff.
So yeah, I just talked about like 25 minutes about like the relationship between gods and worshippers and Garcanas. Excellent. So sick. So end rant. Let's talk about Narad and how
Begin another rant. Henarald. Yeah.
It's up to you. Honestly, just take it away. If you want to rant about Narad, take it away.
I don't have anything to rant about him because what he went through was atrocious. It was pretty disgusting to read, and it doesn't pull any punches. It was just a horrible, brutal scene. Forget about what happens later, but here, Narad is just a guy, just a sad, sick man who made a joke and nearly died. And he was left not by the roadside, as you said, he was left by the fire. He could have just burned. To add more to all the facial fractures, he could have had some burn injuries also. So it's nothing justifies anything. That's not what I'm doing. But what he went through was extremely horrible. It was atrocious. So that's all. No justifications here. It is a horrible scene. Yeah.
So I think it was with Alex, which if we don't forget, I'll leave a link there too. That's 3 links I need to leave. God damn it. So it was with Alex, I think, that Steve brought this up about how Narad is essentially a man that can never find redemption, right? There can be no redemption for what he did.
Yeah.
And this is where it all starts, obviously, when he gets his face busted in for being a dick to a 5-year-old. If you didn't already notice, I don't particularly like Narad. Yeah. Steve basically said that in writing Narad, he portrayed a character that cannot be redeemed, and redemption cannot be his, no matter how hard he tries. And it's interesting because I think he knows that, much like Sir Domin. But unlike Sir Domin, there is no get out of jail for free card. There's no redeemer.
No, what
on
is
the
the
other
difference
side.
between Sir Domin? Oh, right. Yeah, sorry.
Not necessarily a difference. It's like they both know, or rather think they know, that there can be no redemption for them. For one, it's literally right next door. Like you go, like walk 10 fucking places that way, and you can probably get redeemed, or at least absolved. Narad, it's like it's tormented by like his inner demons, and his less inner demons, like more external demons. But
yeah,
and so there is something also to be said about like Narad's face being plastered, I guess, in Orphanel's mind as like the betrayer in the stories. But on some level, I kind of feel bad for Narad, but I also really don't. It's complicated. It's weird. I don't know how to put it any better. It's like
I think this reaction
should feel bad.
Is exactly what Steve was going for.
Like I should feel bad because like the level of brutality is disproportional. Like on any level, it's completely entirely disproportional to like the severity of the actual like transgression.
Yeah.
But given what happens later, I don't really find it within myself to actually feel bad.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if it's a quote from somewhere or like I think it's from Udenas actually, where he says that like to feel bad you need to put in effort, and I just don't feel like putting in the effort.
Okay.
I remember exactly what that scene is. It's when Roulette is having a thing with Mayan, and it's like, I could
Oh
feel
yeah,
bad about this, but that requires effort, so I'm going to remain apathetic. And that's
right,
basically
right.
Maria now with Narad. Like, I don't care enough to feel bad about him, which
Yeah,
says a lot of things about me first and foremost, but I'm not going to think about that because that'll make me feel bad, and I don't want to feel
you
bad.
know, it's sort of
So
like Gothos again, isn't it? I would
it's
despair
Gothas
if
all
I
the way
care.
down. Yeah, it's Gothas all the way down.
No, no. See about Narad, the whole thing. Okay, I lost my thought. Sorry, just go back. What were you saying? Refresh my memory. Oh no, no. Yeah, the first thing
Yeah.
when I spoke to Steve for the first time, almost the first thing we spoke about was about this one character. You've not heard that interview, so I can tell you. When there is one character like that in Rejoice, who is quite irredeemable, though we don't spend a lot of time like Narad, we don't get to see him being atrocious and all that. We just get it's mild. For Steve, it's quite mildly written. So and then he starts on a sort of redemption arc. And so this is what we were discussing, and Steve said something like, that's a question I'm always going to be asking myself for my whole life. That is redemption possible for everyone? Like how much can redemption do, something like that. So that's the thing he keeps trying to explore again and again. So I don't know, it's meant to be conflicted, it's meant to make you question, like, am I really defending this guy? Why do I hate him so much? All things are valid, but that's what he was going for. Isn't it?
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So does it end our narrative discussion? This was something we
I
were not
guess
looking
so.
forward to.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah,
I don't like Narad. Like,
it's
my
fine
friends
to
full
not
of
like
light,
him. Yeah.
and I like. There were two characters which I didn't like. One was Renar, the other was Narad. The first one
You
was
did
like, I
not?
didn't get this character, and I'm
Okay.
like, okay, did I miss something? Well, I did. I missed a lot of things, but I was curious. Like, am I supposed to feel for this girl? Like, what the fuck is up with this? Narad I just straight up didn't like, and the reason I didn't like him is my particular affectation for Sega Travels.
You just
At the
comparing the
time,
two all the time. Okay,
I
yeah.
was. It's very unfair. I'm gonna say that it's very unfair because their purpose in the story is very different. The way that Aegis treats them is very different, and their circumstances are very different.
Yeah.
Because Sir Domin is being treated by Krupp as a case study in what a quote unquote good worshipper of the Redeemer would look like. Someone who rejects the
Yeah.
notion of like redemption at like the clans. Whereas this guy is just like, okay, well, what if I make redemption impossible? But then I seek to explore options of actually making that a bit more morally gray. Like, yeah, he did some pretty terrible shit. Yeah, he's probably not going to be redeemed for it, but does that make him completely redeemable? Is there nothing for him? Am I just supposed to hate him out of hand? And I wanted the answer to be yes, but Steve makes it really hard for me to say yes to that answer to that question. And so I ended up just like doubling down and saying, no, fuck this guy. I'm not going to engage with him at all. So that's my experience with Narad, and I'm not entirely sure if that will change in this read. I suspect it will, but we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, we're close reading so
Mora, on
much.
the other
So,
hand, seems to actually like Narad, which is interesting.
as I said, it's all different flavors of conflict. I'm like, I know how horrible the rest of the thing is. I hate it so much. I mean, this. This is what we were discussing. Chapter 14, 15 is where we know this, but still, I don't hate him as much as I should. That's all I'll say. I don't like. I don't despise him.
I mean, yeah, I don't know if you should hate him so much. I don't know. I think there's like some level where,
But then,
because he is very clearly repentant, right? It's not like he is a dick and proud of it.
yeah, I mean, there are both sides. And I just realized that, unlike my real life thing, at least when it comes to Malayalam fiction, I've been apologizing for rapists all along. I don't know why,
I mean,
but it just keeps happening again and again, and I'm
do
disgusted
you
at
know who you're
myself.
talking to?
Okay, I don't know. I don't know how much you can compare defending Lassine with defending things like. Okay, yeah, doesn't matter. We'll just end this here.
I think you realize where this was going. Like, okay, yeah, maybe I should bring it up. No.
We will stop. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you so much for listening. This has been a very fun discussion, and I hope we have more fun discussions in future. Thanks, Lee. Thanks for your time, and
Thank you,
good
Mora.
night.
Yeah. Good night.
Bye.